Films aim to evoke specific emotional responses in the audience, and genres such as horror and comedy are clear examples of how effectively they manipulate the audience mood. On the one hand, horror aims to generate fear and tension in the audience by immersing them in an atmosphere of suspense. This genre aims to relieve the pressure of everyday life through humor and absurdity by provoking the audience to laugh. These two genres, people's first thought is that they are completely opposite. However, when analyzing them, it can be seen that both share a great capacity to influence the spectator's emotion, mainly when they are used together. This essay will explore how comedy and horror influence the mood on the film's Terrifier at screen. Mood and emotion are similar but not the same. A mood is more a diffuse experience than an emotion. Plantinga defines mood as a sensation that affects a person in a prolonged way without any direct cause. On the other hand, emotions are direct and are produced in reaction to a situation that has occurred. For that reason, the movies generate both sensations, mixing with each other to create the spectator feeling the experience of the movie as if they were part of it. The mood of the films is created through elements such as mise en scene, the image, the sound, the music, and the characters. These elements are those that produce fear, suspense, and tension, as well as calm and happiness in the viewer. Concerning with Plantinga, the tone or the affective character of a film creates the mood of the film. On the one hand, the mise en scene is everything that projects the screen, showing the lighting, the location, the movement, and the aesthetics. To quote Plantinga, from the standpoint of film analysis, an obvious characteristic of art mood is that they are designed for aesthetic effects. This quote explains how aesthetics shapes a film mood. Following this explanation of the meaning of mood and its element, we will analyze how horror and comedy impacts mood, using the film Terrifier as an example. Terrifier 1, directed by Damien Leone, is based on a clown named Art whose character lacks empathy and enjoys causing pain to people through violence, having fun, and sometimes provoking laugh to the audience with his actions. This film is characterized by extreme and explicit gore to starve the viewer through bloody scenes full of horror and comedy. This mix of these two genres generates a state of mind for the audience and stress as the clown acts in a violent but funny way. According to Noé Carroll, Terrifier introduced the terror to follow the film as soon as it begins. The scene of the film shows Art preparing his weapons as he watches an interview of one of his victims.
Welcome to tuning in. I'm sitting here live with the sole survivor of the Miles County Massacre, which occurred exactly 1 year ago today. I've worked on this show for many years, and I've never sat across from someone who has a story to tell quite like yours. Thank you again for taking the time to sit down and speak with me.
It's my pleasure.
Now, when we left off, we were talking about the moment you woke up from the coma. Do you remember your initial reaction when you first saw your face?
Yes.
Would you like to share that with us?
I wish I was dead.
Do you still feel that way?
People are frightened by the way that I look, especially children. And it's really difficult for me to deal with that, so isolation is ideal.
Now, what about your attacker? The man identified only as Art the Clown. There's a lot of controversy surrounding his supposed death. The authorities issued a statement claiming that his body disappeared from the county coroner's office the morning after the attack.
He's dead. I saw it happen.
As Noe Carroll explains, some films use direct horror in the opening sequence to establish the background in a practical way. This is a warning to the viewer. For a film to be special, it needs to follow a series of characteristics used to create it. As mentioned above, the aesthetic, sound, and words are essential elements that affect the film's mood. Terrifier, with its mean and scene, explicitly designed to provoke a mood of fear and terror, achieves it thanks to its location based on claustrophobic and dark places where the viewer feels that fear. A scene that perfectly shows this is when the clown Art is sent to the coroner. This scene takes place in a very claustrophobic dark room where the victim cannot easily escape from it.
You're really going to like it here.
Lights and shadows generating a surprise and fright effect when seeing the clown appear, and the audience can feel the same stress and tension that the victim feels in the film. Terrifier, in most scenes of tension and stress in which Art tries to kill the victim and the victim tries to run away, the clown usually responds in a mocking way, generating funny and humorous moments. A clear example of this fusion is the character of Art, the villain clown who, despite performing violent and disturbing acts, has a playful attitude. Playful, as a cartoon attitude, is manifested in his behavior and gesture as if he were performing a show, which gives him a tone of mock towards the suffering he caused. These comic moments are further highlighted when the film returns to violence and fear, leaving the viewer in constant uncertainty about what will happen. A good example of this is when Art interacts with his victims in a way that at times seems almost ridiculous. This causes the audience to feel uncomfortable as they are horrified by what is happening. At the same time, they are confused or even somewhat amused by the strangeness of the situation. This mixture of relief and fear makes each scene all the more shocking. After analyzing Terrifier, we will do the following analysis about Scream. Scream is a film directed by Kevin Williamson about a killer in a white mask who murders young people. This film, like Terrifier, and referring to Noe Carroll again, starts with a scene of terror and stress, warning the viewer how the movie will unfold. Makes fun of the genre through comic dialogue between the characters in situations of anxiety. Scream Miss and Scene is much more different. This film used significant houses, locations, creating a less unpleasant but more realistic feeling, as the spectator feels he could be himself in his own house. In terms of lighting, dim lighting and sharp shadows create a constant sense of unease. Shadows play a crucial role in concealing the killer, which adds to the suspense, as the viewer never knows whether what they are looking at is safe or whether an attack is being prepared. The camera also plays an important role. In many scenes, the angles do not show everything that is happening, creating suspense and increasing tension. In Scream 1, the fusion of comedy and horror occurs uniquely as the film plays with the conventions of horror cinema while at the same time disrupting them with touches of humor and making a critique of the horror genre. One of the most remarkable things is how aware the characters are. They are the ones who know the rules of horror films, and instead of following them, they comment on them or even break them. For example, in the scene where Randy, one of the friends, explains the rules of what not to do in a horror film, and his friends make fun of him.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex. Big no-no! Big no!
I'm a dead man.
Sex equals death, okay? Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs. No, the sin factor. It's a sin. It's an extension of number 1. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
This interplay between tension and humor creates a unique mood in which people don't know whether to laugh or be terrified. So horror and comedy are genres completely different, but when they come together, they create something completely new, and they can impact in the mood of a film.